Welcome to Calm Sleepy Tales. Tonight's cosy, whimsical tale from Widdersham, the language of flowers and the quiet bloom, is set within the scented walls of Flora Faun, the town's most peculiar flower shop, and the soul of Briony Moss herself. First, let's begin by letting go of the day and enjoy this moment of stillness. Find a comfortable position, let your head rest, and close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in and gently exhale. With each breath, imagine the air around you becoming softer, warmer, more peaceful. As you breathe, feel the tension in your jaw, your forehead, and your back begin to melt away. Let your hands rest. Let your feet soften. Feel your body begin to relax. Your shoulders, your arms, your legs, slowly becoming heavier, as if they're sinking gently into the bed beneath you. Imagine the worries of the day slowly dissolving, like mist in the morning sunlight, drifting away, leaving only peace behind. You are safe. You are warm. You are exactly where you need to be. Let yourself surrender to this comfort. And when you're ready, we'll begin tonight's story. At the curve of Lantern Lane in Widdersham, where the cobbles are dimpled from years of boot soles, and the lampposts lean just slightly, like they're eavesdropping on the wind, there is a flower shop that never smells quite the same way twice. Some days it smells of lavender and peat. Other days it's citrus blossom and fog. Always, though, it smells of something living and something loved. The painted sign above the door reads, Flora Faun, arrangements for heart, house and happenstance. And beneath that, in smaller, almost mischievous script, we bloom where you forgot you planted. The shop is owned by Miss Briony Moss, a woman whose name suits her so perfectly that some townsfolk claim she changed it when she arrived in Widdersham. Others say she was born in a bed of moss behind an old greenhouse, her cry the first note of spring that year. The truth, like most truths in Widdersham, is both stranger and softer than that. Briony is tall and willowy, with hair the colour of forest bark, and a voice like the brush of leaves against windows at night. Her eyes are green, but never the same green twice. Olive when she's focused, emerald when she's amused, and sage when she's remembering something she doesn't plan to say aloud. She's always seen in long skirts with flower-pressed pockets, a loop of garden twine at her hip, and smudges of pollen or soil across her sleeves, like she's been hugged by the flowers themselves. She wears no perfume. She lets the flowers speak for her. But what many don't know, or have only pieced together through murmured market gossip and observant cats, is that Briony once worked as a floromancer. Yes, in a city not listed on any map, nestled behind an old hedged maze and a locked gate of wrought iron lilies, Briony was employed by the Council of Botanical Affairs, a quietly powerful body that created peace treaties in bouquets and wove forgetfulness into funeral wreaths. Her task was to interpret the emotional residue of a place and bloom accordingly. She left that life after the day of the wilted crown, an incident few speak of and fewer recall with clarity. She simply arrived one spring morning in Widdersham, carrying a wheelbarrow of dusty bulbs, a stack of drying notebooks, and a crow perched on her shoulder that refused to give its name. Inside, the shop is lush and quiet, lit with strings of copper fairy lights. Wooden tables host curated chaos, bundles of thyme and pansy, jars of pebbles and seed pods, moss terrariums shaped like dreams. One corner houses the mood shelf, where flowers are arranged by feeling, for sorrow that lingers, for joy too big for your chest, for endings that bloom into beginnings. There's also a tiny apologies section, which sees a surprising amount of traffic on Mondays. Near the window, Briony keeps a bowl of flower pins, single silk petals attached to brass clips, which she calls companion blooms. Visitors often leave with one tucked behind their ear, unsure when they took it or how it matches their outfit so perfectly. But it is the posy outside the shop, left each morning in a cracked teacup or tucked into the shop's letterbox, that keeps the locals guessing. Briony says little about it. For whoever needs it most, she always says, and leaves it at that. One Tuesday in late April, the town of Widdersham was steeped in drizzle and bluebells, and Flora and Faun smelled like honeysuckle and thunder. A child named Nell popped in with her father, clutching a wilted dandelion like it was a treasure. I want to give this to Mum. She's sad today, Nell said. Briony nodded solemnly. That dandelion's brave, I can tell. But let's give it a companion. She pulled from the shelf a whisper-pale calendula and a twist of forget-me-not. Then, brushing Nell's hands with a dab of rosemary oil, she murmured something that sounded like a lullaby in another language. The bouquet was wrapped in paper inked with vines and leaves, real ones that shimmered when held near candlelight. Nell's father, blinking away something behind his glasses, thanked her and slipped a coin into the tip jar, shaped like a watering can. That same afternoon, a tall man with a coat of pressed navy wool and a silver lapel pin shaped like a bellflower stepped into the shop. His shoes were too polished for Widdersham. His voice, when he spoke, carried the hush of libraries and meetings behind rosewood doors. Miss Moss, he said, the council requests a bouquet. Briony didn't look up from her pruning. The council no longer speaks my language. It's not for them, he said softly. It's for someone who remembers how you once made crocuses bloom on stone. That night, after locking up, Briony left a posy on the windowsill. One buttercup, one marigold, and a single white tulip. The next morning, it was gone, replaced with a single pressed violet, folded in a square of paper with no words, only the faint imprint of an old sigil. Flora Faun has its share of regulars. Mrs. Thimble from the post office always orders lilac and lemon balm on Sundays, which she says helps with delicate correspondence. Tilly from Tilly and Stitch comes in for tiny dried flowers to tuck into thread bundles or shawl linings for when people need to feel held, she explains. Even Aurelius Venn from Venn and Sons Clockmakers arrives once a season with an empty pocket watch case, asking only for a bloom that knows how to wait. Briony fills it each time with a dried edelweiss and a sprig of something time forgot. One stormy evening, a stranger arrived, soaked, silent, and clearly carrying the kind of sadness that doesn't show until it spills. Briony offered no questions, only a mug of lavender tea and a posy 3 sprigs of yarrow, 1 peony, and a leaf of clover folded in a note that read simply, "For endurance, for hope, for returning." The stranger left with eyes less heavy. The next day, Briony placed a small cluster of snowdrops outside the shop, the flower of consolation and quiet rebirth. They were gone before the dew dried. Few know that behind Flora and Faun, hidden by high ivy and a curious gate that sometimes hums, there's a garden where Briony grows things no longer found in books. Moon lilies that only bloom during singing. Ferns that record secrets in the curl of their fronds. A tree that blossoms only when someone forgives themselves. Briony tends this garden, not with tools, but with memories. And if you ask her why she does it, why she left the council, why she speaks to flowers more often than to people, she'll smile and say, "Because the world needs more quiet blooming, and someone has to teach the flowers how to listen."